Hello, 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 hello. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere underneath the International Space Station. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Wednesday, March 19th, 2025, and this is the TNAM AM Show. Yes, the TNAM AM Show is here under the podcast umbrella of the Agree to Disagree Show. So subscribe, YouTube, what is it, Spotify, iTunes, link up with the Agree to Disagree Show podcast, but the TNAM AM Show is under the umbrella of that. And we hope that you found us here because, like you, we realized that the media was off, the news was off, that we were being lied to. That's why we've been doing this for 14 years. And that's why we appreciate everyone participating in the program. So hit like, hit subscribe, hit the heart button, hit the thumbs up button, however you're watching. This is a proof of life concept. Type your name. Tell us where you're watching from. When the chat gets rolling, we'll probably put it on the screen here so we can participate in today's program. So much to talk about. Let's jump right into it. What interesting times. We have to ask ourselves the question, are the Democrats now domestic terrorists? Haven't they always been? Go back to Bill Ayers. Remember how Barack Hussein Obama got his start in politics with William Ayers, the Weather Underground? They've always had inferior arguments, and so they resort to violence. You saw it during 2020. They became absolutely totalitarian. Totalitarian. I've been watching some Brian Regan. Totalitarian. He's got an interesting cadence, interesting way that he talks. I've also started doing stand-up, by the way. Stand-up comedy. Yeah. So one of these days, I might release some of these jokes and start putting them out there for you to enjoy. But they became totalitarian in 2020. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of T's. Totalitarian 2020. And locked down the world, shut all the commerce down. You couldn't move. You couldn't shop. You couldn't work. What the hell was that? Well, that was the deep state Democrats. But remember also, the summer of love, they took one event and said, aha, we can use this rage bait to go after the American people. I need to get a haircut. It's acting weird on me. For real, though. They shut the world down and they acted like tyrants. But remember, the summer of love, they burned America. Their Antifa rioters burned the country down. And what are they doing now? They see that Elon has been effective in uncovering their money laundering schemes. It's money laundering, whether it's Act Blue or whether it's all of the non-governmental organizations or whether it's the 30 million fake social security numbers that the illegals are using so they can work and collect their pay, allegedly, like the AOC staffer who was an illegal alien on the payroll, or the 30 million people that can generate printed ballots that can be given to the U.S. Postal Service. You know, remember the Postal Service, the same union who backed the last two Democrat presidents, I believe, who have no business touching a ballot if they're going to become partisan. Oh, they totally delivered 81 million completely legitimate ballots for Joe Biden. Yeah, he totally was our president. That was totally the will of the people. And now what they're doing to go after Elon, they're putting out websites to target all of the Tesla owners so the cars can be keyed, shot up, painted, set on fire. It's domestic terrorism. I think it's time to label the Democrat Party as a domestic terrorist organization. How could you look at 2020, the summer of love, Nancy Pelosi, AOC, Maxine Waters, pushing for violence, Kamala Harris, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, pushing to get the violent rioters bailed out of jail. It's a mercenary force of illegal aliens. And you know what the Democrats do? They spend a lot of capital. They put a lot of energy into saying, hey, trans people, you're being marginalized. Join our army and attack who we tell you to attack. Go back to 2020. What did they say? Hey, black people, you're being marginalized by Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who got the highest percentage of black votes in Republican history. Join our army and attack the people we say to attack. The color revolution. You're wearing the pink hats. Oh, they're wearing the pussy hats. They're wearing the hats. They're wearing the hats. They're eating the dogs. They're wearing the hats. Antifa outfits. Oh, we're anti-fascists. Yeah, you're what they do is the Democrats project everything that they are onto their opponent. That's been their standard operating protocol. They are the most racist people on earth. So they tell their opponent, they say their opponents are racist. That's how they do that. Oh, the system's unfair. Go get them. Yeah, they are the ones, the deep state Democrats, who are stealing tax dollars, running up a $36 trillion deficit, by the way, on a credit card. About $36 trillion spent on a credit card. Why do we have to pay for that? We didn't do that. Go after the Democrats that spent that. Now, I know Trump has done spending as well, but look at the spending without COVID. You got to look pre-COVID and then after COVID, when everything went crazy. And really when a lot of people woke up to what was happening. A lot of people woke up during COVID, and thank God, happy to have you. You know, I've talked to several people this week, and there are many who are Trump supporters. 3 of them didn't even vote for Trump. So if you thought 65, 35, 55, 45 was close, wait till you take those 30 million fake Social Security numbers out of production. Wait till you pass the SAVE Act and get some nationwide standards with voter ID. We'll have a national voting day. I think J.D. Vance was proposing that. Why does it have to be in November? Could we just make it the day after the Super Bowl? Or better, if we can't, because we've long asked. I also do a sports show called The Unhappy Hour. By the way, if anybody wants to contribute to the show, these are the places you can do so. But if you make donations, I will send you some of these. These are 100% Ohio-made wooden laser engraved coasters of our sports show, The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. $30 a piece, or $50 for both, and $25 for the pin. The pin's inside of there, if you can see it. The Unhappy Hour Sports Show pin. There we go. Everything's mirrored. So for $75, I'll send you all. Just put it in Venmo. Give me the address you want it mailed, and I'll send you all 3 of these. But I do sports shows, and I've been saying for a long time, as have a lot of you have been saying it as well. Why don't we make the day after the Super Bowl a national holiday? You know, it's something cultural. It's our bread and circuses. Okay, but I get it. Maybe the Constitution says it has to be the first whatever of the whatever in November and then sworn in on just January. Okay, fine. Then I think the easy thing to do is to just make voting day November 3rd or whatever it is. Make that President's Day. So we all get the day off because you're voting for the president. It's not any president's birthday. It's just because it's President's Day, we're going to celebrate all the presidents who have come before us as we get a day off to pick the next president. That's the easy answer. Just let's make that happen. I think it's 3-1. I think it's a 75-25 nation. We've been lied to. Oh, we're 51-49. It's really close. Maybe one of the big things for me when I saw the polling on abortion, you're like, well, that's a 50-50 issue. And the more you talk, you're like, it's like 60-40, 65-35. The other side's just really loud, really adamant that they get to kill their humans that they create and then sell them to Planned Parenthood so they can be torn apart and used for medical experiments and products that are injected into you. Okay. Oh, that's great. Facebook is waiting for a live signal. My broadcast will resume shortly. Why would there be an issue with my signal other than the fact that Meta hates me? Meta does hate me. Anyway. My internet connection was restored. Oh, was it? I guess they don't want me talking about that issue today, huh? And I understand the libertarian stance on bodily autonomy, but also, the First Amendment or the life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Like life is the very first thing you're supposed to protect. It's not a life yet. Bill Burr had that great bit. It's like I'm baking a cake. Mix all the ingredients up, pour it into a pan, put it in the oven. You come by a minute later, open it up, and chuck it across the floor. And I go, hey, that was my birthday cake. She goes, that wasn't a cake. That was just a bunch of mixed ingredients. Well, it was gonna be a cake until you did what you did. It was a cake. And you did what you did. But that issue aside, because I think I can understand safe and legal and rare. And there should be sadness and shame attached to creating something that you have to destroy. There should be a sadness that goes along with that, not a celebration. And it's gotten really demonic and vile, just the energy behind that whole conversation. But take abortion off the table for a second, because that's really the only cornerstone the Democrats have anything to hang their hat on. I saw a new poll. They're 29%, 26%, 27%. They are still dropping. Like I said, 3-1, 75-25. The attacks on Elon are because he's effective. The attacks on Trump are because he's effective. They're attacking and raging right now. More SWATs, by the way. I've called on Kash Patel and Pam Bondi to issue a nationwide alert to every police station in the country that there's a deep state Democrat domestic terrorism attack on anyone supporting MAGA, Trump, Republicans, Doge, Tesla. The coordinated attack has happened. The light switch has been flipped. You do not want. Every swatting attempt is an attempted murder, by the way. And that's what we have to discuss. So let's talk about all the things in the news. We're going to talk about the dirty deep state Democrats. We're going to talk about the JFK files, what was released, what wasn't. Talk about the astronauts returning. So let's go ahead and jump into number one. We'll jump into comments. Hello, David Ban. Thanks for joining us. David's a regular here. I've been a bartender for a while, so I like to talk about regulars. I got regulars. Thanks for bellying up to the bar, breakfast bar, as it were. Cheers, David. What story would you like me to cover today? What's big on your agenda, on your menu? I saw Trump endorsed not Pierre Poilievre. David, you're Canadian. That was a question, or that was a comment? That was a comment. That's funny. You said dirty deeds done dirt cheap, Kenneth. Hello, Kenneth. Kenneth, there's another regular at the bar. Well, welcome. Belly up to the bar. What you having? I'm doing stand-up comedy, and I have a bit that I haven't fully worked out yet, but I want to talk about misheard lyrics. And I worked with a bartender named Shannon, and she used to have AC/DC. She goes, I always thought the song went, dirty deeds, thunder cheeks, dirty deeds and thunder cheeks. Dirty deeds and thunder cheeks. I always thought that one was funny. So here's a question of the day for anyone watching. If you're not one of the regulars, leave a comment, say hello. Is there any lyric that you've misheard? What's a famous misheard lyric in your life? I'd like to hear that. I'd like to find out. But yes, please make sure you go on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, and YouTube, and subscribe to The New American Media. Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, and YouTube. On X, we're at American_media_. Please share our content on X. If you don't have an X account, sign up for one. It really is. Grok is the AI tool of X. It's become my Google. I don't use Google anymore. When I would try to find out what's going on with a story, I would type something in and they would send me all this deep state Democrat leftist globalist slant. District of Columbia, direct current, alternating current, direct current. I don't know. What does AC/DC really mean? But yeah, if you're not on X, not a paid advertisement, but when you follow the right people who are covering the news every day, you're going to be able to scroll through your feed and find a lot of the accurate depictions of what's happening each day. It becomes your daily newspaper. It becomes your search engine. When they said it's going to become the everything app, they weren't lying. It's getting better, way better than Twitter. So make sure you're following us on X. And we're at TNAM, TNAM, and TNAM chat on Signal and Telegram. Link up with us there. Oh, Antichrist, Devil's Children. Now, I don't know if that's true or if... Where did you hear that? Do you have a story confirmed? Has the band ever said that? Because there were a lot of pseudo-satanic accusations in the 80s. I had to deal with that. My parents were very into that. To be fair, some of the stuff I was getting into, Guns N' Roses, and there's plenty of stuff might have been inappropriate for my age, and they were very cautious with guarding me from some of those things, which is fair, makes sense. But man, my friends, they were just free-range children. They got to do whatever they want. Yeah, Jeremiah saying, David, that's actually wrong. Like I said, you can play this record backwards and you'll hear this. And we need the parental advisory stickers with Tipper Gore and a lot. Well, did Ozzy Osbourne bite the head off a bat at an A&R meeting? There's a lot of stories that took on mythological how do you say it? Mythological gravitas. Although what was the truth behind it, that might be a slightly different story. And yes, that's what you've heard. I've heard stuff like that. KISS, in the comments, quick, what did KISS stand for? Allegedly. But I've never heard them confirm it, although I might have missed it. What does KISS, the band KISS, KISS, what does that stand for? Quick. 3, 2, 1. All right, well, if you don't know what KISS stands for, I gave you enough time. Knights in Satan's Service. Knights in Satan's Service. Anyway, I digress. But I want to do an entire bit on misheard lyrics. So if you have any misheard lyrics, type them in the comments. I'd love to add them to it. Dirty Deeds, Thunder Cheeks. All right, let's jump into the stories and let's start talking about what's happening in the world. This should be celebrated. Can we just say thank you to President Trump for all he had to sacrifice to get to this position? And thank Elon Musk for doing things like this, bringing home stranded astronauts, like uncovering all of this money laundering and fraud. I'm beyond appreciative that we finally have a little bit of sanity. They're not getting everything right. And I'll bring up a post in a little bit where they're directly criticizing the redactions in the JFK files. Are supposed to be released completely. Trump getting BlackRock to take over Panama Canal. I don't think that was what was sold to us. And what was the third thing? Going up against, two more things. Going up against Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is one of the only good people in Congress. And then backing not Pierre Poilievre in Canada. So I think we can definitely No, it's not Keep It Simple, Stupid. Knights in Satan's Services. Knights in Satan's Service. I just want to say thanks. Like, this is so cool to see. Let's go ahead and full screen this. This says President Trump and Elon have officially rescued the stranded astronauts from the International Space Station. Democrats abandoned them. MAGA saved them. God bless America. Oh, cool.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
Look at how those parachutes fan out and giving you that logo.
And SpaceX Freedom.
What a cinematic.
Good main release.
Maybe a little too cinematic.
Copy splashdown. We see main chutes cut. Nick, Alex, Butch, Sunny, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
Yeah, but I think we are truly on the best timeline. Although I have seen people say this looks very much like CGI. Very much like CGI. Yes, David, everything is an illusion. Were they actually past the Van Allen belt, right? Were they actually in outer space? Isn't there a firmament? Isn't this like the Truman Show? We're all in a bubble? I don't know, man. So make sure you understand the story about how these astronauts ended up in the predicament where they found us.
Because of Elon Musk. Everything he did with SpaceX, that those astronauts stranded for 9 months, they're finally coming home. Mr. President, your reaction to what's unfolding?
So when I came in office, I said, Elon, we got to get them out. You have a rocket ship handy? How many people have a rocket? And
do you have a rocket ship handy?
Biden left them up. He abandoned them. You know, we could have done this sooner, but Biden didn't want to because he was embarrassed by what happened. So they were up there. They were supposed to be there for a few days. They were there for many months. And now they're coming back. But think of it. Elon's able to do that with his genius. And you have people that hate it. And I really believe these are people that hate our country. It's a big problem. But, you know, there aren't so.
They do hate our country. That's why they're polling around 25%, which is hilarious because as Scott Adams says, that is his handle on X, at Scott Adams says, when he covers polls, you know, whether it's Rasmussen or this, that, or the other, he famously often says, you know, 25% of the people who are polled seem to get every question wrong all the time. Democrats are roughly 25% of the population.
So many of them. There are many more that love our country. And they love our country now more than they have maybe ever in their lives. There's never been a movement like MAGA, like America First, call it whatever you want to call it. This is the greatest movement in the history of politics.
What's the next stop for the astronauts? Are they going to be coming to the White House?
No, they're going to, number one, have to get better. You know, when you're up there and you have no pull in your muscle, you have no gravity, you can lift 1,000 pounds like this. They have to get better. It's going to be a little bit tough for them. It's not easy. You know, they're up a long time. And when they do, they'll come to the Oval Office.
It's because of Elon.
Heck yeah. Just this is the type of story that should be 24/7 news coverage. Are we getting this? Are we getting 24/7 news coverage on that story? You know? All right, let's talk about JD Vance. I mean, when's the last time a vice president has been relevant? I guess since Biden. I mean, Biden was overthrowing Ukraine in 2013, 2014, right? With Victoria Nuland and their team of globalist money laundering demons, setting up what ended up turning into a horrific war over there. But JD Vance is proving to be a significant figure on the world stage. I don't know that I saw that coming. To be fair, I wasn't super familiar with JD Vance in the beginning, but the more I hear from him, the more I like him. I heard rumors because when Trump was asked, they said, is JD, you know, is he in line to be the nominee for 28? And Trump said, no, but he's doing a great job. And I was like, why would he do that? Then you heard rumors and reports that Donald Trump Jr. might be the person that they put up there to run in 28. I don't know. I like J.D. Vance. I think he's pretty good. Been good so far. But here he is discussing globalization as we try to figure out how we're supposed to handle manufacturing. And you hear all these arguments on news networks from various pundits. He kind of lays out here what's going on and how the U.S. is offshored a bunch of things and what the repercussions have been.
Because there were two conceits that our leadership class had when it came to globalization. The first is assuming that we can separate the making of things from the design of things. The idea of globalization was that rich countries would move further up the value chain while the poor countries made the simpler things. You would open an iPhone box and it would say designed in Cupertino, California. Now, the implication, of course, is that it would be manufactured in Shenzhen or somewhere else. And yeah, some people might lose their jobs in manufacturing, but they could learn to design, or to use a very popular phrase, learn to code. But I think we got it wrong. It turns out that the geographies that do the manufacturing get awfully good at the designing of things. There are network effects, as you all well understand. The firms that design products work with firms that manufacture. They share intellectual property, they share best practices, and they even sometimes share critical employees. Now, we assume that other nations would always trail us in the value chain, but it turns out that as they got better at the low end of the value chain, they also started catching up on the higher end. We were squeezed from both ends.
Well, they got better at it. Plus, they were stealing all of the intellectual property. Let's be honest about what things have been. Oh, sure, we'll make your stuff for super cheap in our country. Yep, we need all the design specs, though. Well, that's proprietary. Just put them together. Yeah, we need to know what they are. We know what you're doing. You're going to try to steal it. Well, you can either give it to us and we can make it cheap with our slave labor in China, or insert random third world nation here, or go build it elsewhere. So these companies have also sold their soul and sold the design of their products. Very short-sighted shit.
Now, that was the first conceit of globalization. I think the second is that cheap labor is fundamentally a crutch, and it's a crutch that inhibits innovation. I might even say that it's a drug that too many American firms got addicted to. Now, if you can make a product more cheaply, it's far too easy to do that rather than to innovate. And whether we were offshoring factories to cheap labor economies or importing cheap labor through our immigration system, cheap labor became the drug of Western economies. And I'd say that if you look in nearly every country from Canada to the UK that imported large amounts of cheap labor, you've seen productivity stagnate. I don't think that's not a total happenstance. I think that the connection is very direct. Now, one of the debates you hear on the minimum wage, for instance, is that increases in the minimum wage force firms to automate. So a higher wage at McDonald's means more kiosks. And whatever your views on the wisdom of the minimum wage, I'm not going to comment on that here. Companies innovating in the absence of cheap labor is a good thing. I think most of you are not worried about getting cheaper and cheaper labor. You're worried about innovating, about building new things, about the old formulation of technology is doing more with less. You guys are all trying to do more with less every single day. And so I'd ask my friends, both on the tech optimist side and on the populist side, not to see the failure of the logic of globalization as a failure of innovation. Indeed, I'd say that globalization's hunger for cheap labor is a problem precisely because it's been bad for innovation. Both our working people, our populists, and our innovators gathered here today have the same enemy. And the solution, I believe, is American innovation. Because there were two conceits that our leadership class had when it came to globalization.
This is the beginning again.
The first is...
Yes, okay. Our comment was the theft of intellectual property from those slave labor nations was the hook under the worm. They exploited the American need for slave labor in exchange for stealing our technology. American corporations and multinational corporations sold their souls. Let's reverse course. Wouldn't that be nice? I think 2020 really exposed the problem of the inability to manufacture the things that are most important to Americans in America. Far too many prescription drugs, things like actual pharmaceuticals that actually help us, are foreign. way too much of our basic infrastructure. Anything that we need needs to be created at multiple locations across the United States. We saw the supply chain go bonkers. We need to have something on the East Coast, the West Coast, South and North. So imagine there's a catastrophe in that region. You can't shut everything. You need to produce as if the United States is the only nation producing anything. Not relying on slave labor from the Uyghur region of China or Indonesia or Bangkok or Cambodia or Vietnam or wherever you can get away with slave wages, India. The important stuff needs to be happening here. And I think this tariff battle is really setting the stage for a recalibration of how we do business. And some people might hate that, and that's why you're seeing some of the pushback. But it seems like in the long run, this has all been long overdue. And I'm looking forward to it. I think as these policies have a chance to work their way through the system, you're not going to see radical transformation on everything right away. Now, you have seen gas prices go down when you have seen egg prices go down when you've seen interest rates go down on mortgages when. But the ripple effect will continue to trend in that direction if we continue to make smart choices. So I'm looking forward to it. As I mentioned about the Democrat Party, that I do believe should be labeled a terrorist organization at this point. And I think you might agree. That's a question of the day. Should the Democrat Party be considered a terrorist organization? If you're watching on Facebook, hit the thumbs up button or the hearts button. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube and Rumble, or X, wherever you're watching us. You can, if you're watching on Rumble, you can give us super chats. I don't know that we've had super chats yet, but you can. You tap on super chat and you're like, do I want to do $1, $2, $3, $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, $200, $300 super chats? So you might be able to do super chats or the equivalent on YouTube as well. Just as a reminder, if you like, it'll pop your comment up to the top and we'll get to highlight it, is what I'm saying. But question of the day: should the Democrat Party be labeled domestic terrorists? I think yes. We watched the Summer of Love. I don't know why they're not rioting across the country. Yeah, you pushed it. You know, you caused it. The Obama doctrine to divide, to shame, to use race, to bait people, to build an army of the aggrieved. That's community organizing. Agitating? Community agitator. Anyway, let's talk about the Democratic Party. Here's a picture. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The Democratic Party is still baffled by their low poll numbers, despite their support for Hamas and Tren de Aragua. So there you go. Oh yeah, the leader of Hamas is gone now. Weren't they told to release every American hostage, every hostage? And if you don't, all hell will break loose? And they still refused? Release the hostages, release the bodies if they're no longer with us. Every one of them back now. They said, no, thanks. All right, so, yep. Democrat Party is supporting Hamas and Tren de Aragua.
Well, I think
that's why they're in the 20s with percent. I think that number is way too high. And I think Bobby Kennedy, legitimate, I'm not saying this to be a smartass. I think Bobby Kennedy with Health and Human Services needs to designate Trump derangement syndrome as a mental illness perpetrated by teachers, the lying legacy media, and the Democrat Party to make people hate themselves, hate this country, hate the president, and hate common sense ideas. And we need to find a way to get people detoxed off of that poison. It's more deadly than fentanyl in many regards. So anyway, here's Scott Jennings talking about the Trump deportation order, where the Obama judges are siding with the illegal alien gang members. Shocking. That's called the Obama doctrine.
a few things. Number one, we've had a number of instances now on immigration and other matters where individual district court judges are trying to effectively substitute their judgment for that of what the White House believes is core function of the presidency as designated by the Constitution. That's a key question and probably needs to be sorted out by the Supreme Court someday. That's number one. Number two, on the issue of these deportations, it's quite clear the president believes he is keeping the United States and its citizens safe from non-citizens who are in the country illegally, first of all, and second of all, who have a long history of committing very, very violent acts, from murder to rape to sex trafficking and so on.
Don't you think they have to prove that, though? Because, I mean, I don't think anybody disagrees about their ability to deport people who are murderers or rapists or whatever, but don't they have to actually prove that those people are who they say they are and that they've carried out those acts of those criminal acts?
Well, we know they're violent people because...
How do we know?
Because...
how do we know?
Well, because their records have already been pulled. I mean, these people were violent.
I think that the court...
from where they came from, and now they're here illegally. So
one of the things that happened in court
know who
today,
they are? Like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
have
One
they
of the
even
things
given
that
us their
happened
identity?
in the court today is that the lawyers for the government couldn't say really who these people were.
And interestingly enough, what they tried to use is they said, oh, we're looking at some of their tattoos, which means they have a gang affiliation, so they can be deported. It's a slippery slope that we don't want to open up.
But they're illegal
and that's why we have
immigrants,
a process for everything.
We do know they're illegal aliens. That's a very easy background check that you can do on the spot. You run their name through the system. They don't have a social security number. They're not a citizen of this country. It's easy. You can do a citizenship check. We used to do it all the time with SB 1070. We do a citizenship check. All we have to do is run their name and all the information, because these idiots don't have not all of them are idiots, but I'm saying the ones who are criminals, I call them idiots. They don't have a social security number. So when you talk to them, they don't speak English. That's one sign that you can't speak no English at all. Then you get an interpreter to talk to them. They have no social security number. They don't.
By the way, that's why English is the language of America. Did that executive order go through? I remember reporting it, but I didn't remember seeing it signed. Let me look that one up. But you have to have a shared history to be a nation. You have to have common bonds. You have to have assimilation into this culture, not enclaves. They're trying to make Islamic enclaves in Texas. 600 acres of an Islamic Sharia enclave. No thanks. You can come here legally and assimilate and become American, take the citizenship test, learn English, stay off of the federal rolls, the handout machines, show that you're of value, that you're going to produce things and not be a taker, be a giver, not a taker. No, we don't want enclaves. We don't want 30,000 Haitians outside of Ohio State University any more than we'd want 30,000 Michigan State Wolverine fans outside of Ohio State University. You want shared culture, shared community, shared language, shared values. So yeah, you don't speak the language, dead giveaway. All right, what's your social security number? Oh, you're not here legally. Then you go back. But you get penalized. You go to jail. That's a crime. That's a criminal offense. Sorry you believed the deep state Democrats. Sorry you believed Joe Biden. Puppet strings being pulled by Obama and his ilk. If you want to be an American, that's how you do it. You learn the language, English. You study the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. You take the citizenship test. You come into the country and you produce. You get your work visa and you start earning money. You should be ineligible for handouts. You don't get free money. You don't get to come here and get our stuff for free. No. There's people here that are suffering. There's homeless people here that need services. There's mentally ill people here that need. Don't send us your tired and your weak. Send us your best and brightest. This is college. This is the country everybody wants to go to. You should have minimum requirements to get into college. Fine. Say America's a college. America's more like a community college. Fine. You still need to show proof of life. Can you get a C average? Is your GPA a 2? A 1? Like a 1 and 1.75? Proof of life. Do you have a pulse? There is no benefit to bring in illegal alien criminals, especially anybody violent. No way. That ain't our problem. You're not dumping your jails, your prisons, your mental institutions over in this country. No.
They don't even know their date of birth.
Yeah, you can't provide a social security number. You don't have a date of birth. You don't speak the language. Yeah, you're not our problem. You can go. You can go.
They have none of this information. So what do? We take the information that we have available to us, whether they give us a name, and then we run that through a system with a couple identifying markers. And if that person doesn't show up with any record, they're not a citizen. It's clear. Not only just the stuff that we can see and that they can't produce on the spot, but because they have no record in the country, they're not a citizen. And then if they got a tattoo of a syndicated gang, this Venezuelan gang, then ma'am, 2 + 2 is 4. They got the thing. They have no record here. Get the out of our country.
Yeah. We said the Obama doctrine has been a policy of dividing Americans by race, importing illegal alien invaders to replace American citizens, and to lower the quality of life in America. The Obama doctrine has been soundly rejected, and we are now truly on the best timeline. Does it feel that way to you? That we're on the best timeline now? Let's see, the Obama doctrine. And there's my note. Okay. I'm going to start putting these comments into my Obama doctrine book. It's time I start publishing. Good question, David. What have the Democrats not done? That was terrorism. Yeah. All right, look, Jeremiah, you got a concern that Trump needs to wake up and realize he's being played. There are a lot of competing forces. There are a lot of people pulling every direction with agendas, for sure. Bella's Chance saying President Trump designated English as our national language at the beginning of March. Look, I remember seeing that, but I don't remember verifying. I don't remember seeing that act. Let me double check. EO, English national language. Let's see there should be a video of it. No. Trump signed an executive. Hang on, let's.
So we were at the Eiffel Tower having dinner with your wonderful wife and with my wonderful wife, and we came out and he started speaking the French deal. And we didn't have an interpreter, and he was going on and on and on, and I was just nodding, yes, yes, yes. And he really sold me out, because I got back the next day and I read the papers. I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that.
That was an awkward hand embrace. That was weird. See, English is about to become the official language. I saw that. Where's the video? Trump to sign executive order. I keep seeing that it's going to happen. When did it happen? Everything else was. Oh, hold on. Is this it here?
Major executive order has just been signed. Jack Posobiec, and I want to keep on that shot. Major executive order has been signed. What is it, sir?
President Trump has signed an executive order that harkens back to Teddy Roosevelt and his discussion of hyphenated Americans.
Yes.
If you're familiar with that one, Steve. President Trump's EO is declared.
No more hyphenated Americans. You're either an American or you're not. This Obama doctrine of division, enough already. Enough.
Hearing that English is the official language of the United States. That is, and by the way, that's going to have a ripple effect around the country, because that means government documents must be in English. Look, it's a
absolute, and voting has to be in English.
Voting now, that's going to be tricky.
And federal elections, at least.
Voting is going to be tricky because, as we know, voting is run by the states. But had a discussion
you have federal elections,
on background with some very high-level senior officials yesterday at the White House, specifically on. Scott Presler was there yesterday, and that was his. Everyone knows Scott Presler brought it up again and again: election integrity, election integrity. Yeah. And so, when we pass the election integrity legislation, this should be front and center. That ballots should be printed in English.
Agreed. Oh, is this it right here? I'm actually signing it?
The president has just signed an executive order making English the official language of the United States. The move cancels out a Clinton-era mandate that required federal agencies to provide language assistance to non-English speakers. Joey, about 180 countries across the world already have an official language. Why are we so late to the party?
Well, there's a spirit of freedom, and in that idea of freedom can't mandate how you live your life, even to the language you speak. This idea that we're a country of immigrants, which we are. However, we have an office of government efficiency. We have a new sheriff in town who looks at things and goes, what can maximize our efficiency? Do we need to be wasting money in their mind on this multilingual federal government? So making it official language truly applies to the federal government, how it operates, and what you basically mandate or provide within the mechanism of these millions of people, I guess, that work for the federal government. So I think it's about efficiency more than anything. It's also very on brand for this idea of America first. We are an English-speaking country. We are in a critical identity crisis as to what is American
100%.
culture. American culture is an amalgam, and that's a great thing, but it is American, and we speak English.
That's a great point. Sarah?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it helps us integrate, right? We see so many, and I saw that in California. I was talking to Jason a little bit about this. I remember when my daughter was very young, when she was in kindergarten, she was at the public school in California, and all the other kids in her classroom were Spanish speaking, the entire kindergarten class. And her teacher said, I have to spend all my time getting these children up to par with the English language. I don't even have time to teach the children that actually speak English as their first language. So that is a very difficult process. It's a process within the schools and throughout our communities. And like you said, just becoming a part of the American culture and a part of this American dream requires that we all speak English, and that's important.
That's the difference between the Obama doctrine of enclaves and invasion. The same people who rail nonstop about colonization. It's colonization, those evil colonizers, the evil colonizers. So that's exactly why you're colonizing every sovereign nation with non-residents of that nation. You saw Conor McGregor on St. Patrick's Day come out, and he's like, there are entire communities that have been overrun and turned their communities into minorities overnight. This is not okay. We have to get rid of these people that are barging into our country, trying to change our country from without. Ireland is not Ireland unless it is Ireland. And yeah, you're not going to teach 45 languages. You teach English in America. That's assimilation. Islamic Sharia law teaching enclaves down in Texas, outside of, what was it, Houston? There's at least one, like 600 acre or 400 acre property. They're trying to do that. Springfield, Ohio, 30,000 Haitians. The Somali invasion that took over parts of Minnesota, which give you Ilhan Omar. The same enclaves that give you, who else is in the squad? Go through the list of the squad. The anti-America, the America haters. If you can just find a place to gerrymander and take over and put enough people from outside of America into that place, then you can get a representative in U.S. Congress to work to destroy this country. This all has to stop. You want to come here? You want to assimilate? You want to become a part of America? Cool. There's a process. You walk through the front door. It's that easy. So yes, Bella's chance. I just wanted to make sure because I remembered seeing the story, but I didn't recall seeing the end of the story. That was the part that I was trying to figure out. All right. Let's continue on. Switch back to Instagram here. Hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching us. Please leave your comments and share our content. All right, so this is interesting. D-Infringe. You should follow this account. It's a little unhinged at times, but hey, so am I. It says here, Democrats have lost 308,910 voter registrations through February. Did they lose them? Were they misplaced? Did they lose them? Or in the process of removing fraudulent Social Security numbers, are there fake voters disappearing? Or is it just that a lot of common sense people are going, yeah, I'm not down with this terrorized Tesla owner stuff. You guys are monsters. We hate you. Hey, look, gas prices are coming down like we wanted. Hey, look, inflation is coming down like we wanted. Hey, look, mortgage interest rates are coming down like we wanted. Hey, look, egg prices are coming down like we wanted. Okay. That's what it looks like when you care about the people that are under your jurisdiction. That's what it looks like when you care about the people who are under your purview. And so please don't infringe. Another one of the fringe accounts says they don't need votes if they're just going to have the judges run the country. You look at the injunctions here. Presidential administration that promulgated the enjoined policy. All right. So how many injunctions have people had? Bush had 6. Biden had 14. Obama had 12. Trump has had 64. 12, 24, 48. That's a lot more. That's a lot more. Now, a district court judge has ordered the U.S. military to continue enlisting mentally delusional transgender troops. They're justifying their ruling by quoting the musical Hamilton. What? Sorry, I'm trying to read the fine print here. We either have a presidency or we have a rule by 677 gavel-wielding dictators. The Supreme Court must put these judges in place. And we'll talk about John Roberts in a second, because I think he needs to be impeached along with, well, I almost called her Katie Hobbs, Amy Coney Barrett. But Kyle Cheney says Judge Chukan has blocked the EPA from terminating grants for climate programs held by Citibank, saying the Trump administration failed to abide by legal procedures and provided no evidence of impropriety. Yeah, we're in charge and we don't want to waste our money. That's it. That's the decision. Judge Chukan. Impeach Chukan. The purpose of Judge Bosaberg's unconstitutional ruling is to tie up President Trump's time and resources in litigation, stopping him from executing on the Democratic mandate that voters gave him. This, according to Congressman Brandon Gill. The ruling is a fundamental attack on our democratic system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are under attack. They tried to take out Trump while golfing. They tried to take out Trump while in Butler, Pennsylvania. They tried to take out Trump with lawfare to throw him in a cage where they could Epstein him. They are going after Elon's businesses because he's being successful. It's showing the theft and money laundering and the treason that's taken place. We are at war. We didn't ask to go to war. They are currently engaged in a hot war with us, MAGA people being swatted aggressively right now. Any one of us could have people prowling around our home with assault weapons. Assault weapons. I don't even like saying that term. It's so stupid. This is an assault Altoidkin. Altoid tin. Anything can be an assault anything if you assault somebody with it. You could assault somebody with a pepper shaker. Charge you with assault and peppery. It's so stupid. I think the Kenneth jokes have rotted my brain. But any one of us could get swatted. Any Trump supporter, any MAGA supporter, any Elon supporter, anyone with common sense, anyone that wants to end the war in Ukraine. It's like the Democrat deep state thrashing about because they're busted. They're done. They're totally toast. They're thrashing about and they're attacking. This is a war that we are all in right now. I don't want it, but you better be aware that you're in it too. The ruling is a fundamental attack on our democratic system because they lost, because they're unliked. They do not have the consent of the governed, 29%, 27%, 25%. Nobody likes the deep state Democrats. Never have, really. Except Obama and his ilk were able to shame people, guilt trip people, fool people, lie to people. The Smith-Mundt Act. What's taken so long for President Trump to reverse the Smith-Mundt Act? To put out government propaganda. Anyway, Stephen Miller says, unelected rogue judges are trying to steal years of time from this 4-year term. It's the most egregious theft one can imagine, robbing the vote and voice of the American people. Any conservative legal commentator who fails to condemn this lunacy has lost all credibility forever. So that's where we are on these legal rulings. And we're just kind of talking about the way of life, what America used to be, what it's turned into. Is it any better what it's been turned into? I don't think so. And I found this conversation, I found it interesting. This is on Joey B versus the World. Check out this comparison. It's important.
I feel like there was a bit of pride to be a human being at one point. Even if they didn't have a lot of money, they still made an attempt to wear their best clothes when they went out in public. Now people just wear anything, do anything now. Nobody cares. But the thing is like, if the places you go to don't care, then why should anyone care? I mean, even the trains back then people took, and you look inside, and there's areas with couches and record players, like a cigar lounge. It's like little beds. And, it's like they make it look nice. And then people wonder why they dressed up back then to go on these trains and to go out in public. And you could see how everything's nice. Everything that was made was extravagant. There was real craftsmanship to things. Wouldn't that make you want to dress up? You take a train now, there's no character to it. There's nothing about it that makes it seem like, oh, this was created for a warm, nice, relaxing environment for you. Take a walk through downtown LA. You think that's something to be proud of? You're going to dress up in a suit and go to the store? No. Why would you? They let people on heroin just sit in front of the store shooting up. Look at the cars now.
Why are those people not brought to treatment facilities? You don't have a right to just be a filthy bum taking up the sidewalks. That's common space. These people are mentally ill. They're drug addicted. They need help. They don't get to ruin communities. I don't understand how we've lost our ways so badly. It doesn't make sense to me. It is shocking. It is sad.
They suck. Take a look at some of the cars back from the 50s and 60s, even the 70s. I mean, they were just like, there was character to them. I feel like there was a bit of pride to be a human being at one point. Even if they didn't have a lot of money, they still made an attempt to wear their best clothes when they went out in public. Now people just wear anything, do anything now. Nobody cares.
I think that's the beginning.
But the thing is like...
Yeah, it just repeated. Man, the way that these videos repeat, it is so smooth. You don't even catch it. It repeats. All right, so here's a topic that maybe this will divide the chat room. Leave your comments. What do you make of... I had somebody send me a message. Let me tell you what this message said. There you go. Netanyahu violates Trump's ceasefire. This is essentially Israel going directly to war against Trump. I mean, that's one way to say it. Or, as Michael Dickinson said, in the end, Gaza decided... Yeah, aspect ratio, I can't see it. In the end, Gaza decided that they would rather risk war than give up holding the 59 humans, both alive and dead bodies, that they stole from their families over 520 days ago. What a decision to make, but it's the one they made again and again and again since October 7th, 2023. So how do you feel? How do you feel about what's going on over there? Are they getting what they deserve? Is it a genocide? Something in between? I don't know. I don't know, but it's happening. So you should be aware of it. It's escalating. Yep, there you go. This is like Forrest Gump. And just like that, the left stopped caring about eggs. The price of eggs for a dozen, $8. And it's dropped now to $3.50. Yeah, imagine what happens when you don't destroy your own food supply like Biden did. Go figure. No credit. They just stopped talking about it. Let's give some credit while these guys are here, shall we?
4 departing Crew 9 crew members posing for some final photos.
All hooks open.
All hooks are open. And undocking confirmed. The 4 departing Crew 9 crew members.
Yeah, while Democrats are out torching Teslas and begging for MS-13 thugs to be brought back to America, Trump and Elon just sent a rocket into space and saved 2 astronauts. We are not the same. We are not the same. We're just not. I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you. Bravo. I'm happy about that.
Look at this little weasel. You see this little weasel? This little rat. We've got a rat. A little rat.
Have you seen The Departed with Jack Nicholson? Got a rat. Got a rat. I wonder if there's a short clip of that on X. I wonder if I can find that. Nicholson, The Departed rat. Is there a scene that pops up if I type this? Yes! Yes, here he is. Here he is. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to play a second or two of this. This is a rat. A rat.
I got this rat, this gnawing, eating fucking rat.
Gnawing fucking rat. Wait, the scene was improvised by Nicholson? Great scene. Just referenced this clip on today's episode of the TNAM AM Show when discussing, not supposed to use the same word twice in the same sentence. Find a synonym. When discussing Chucky Schumer. S-C-H-U-M-E-R? Is it S-C-H-U-M-E-R? Yeah, S-C-H-U-M-E-R. Little rat. Little rat. A disgusting little rat. They got this rat. This little rat.
I got this rat. This gnawing,
eating
fucking rat.
That's who Chuck Schumer reminds me of. This little creep. Ooh, I hate this guy.
And you know what?
Ooh, I hate this guy.
Their attitude is, I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or, I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, my the land and water that I own, or my employees. They hate government. Government's a barrier to people.
They keep trying to clap. They're playing the music, and the guy can't make a cogent point. This is why the Democrat Party is loathed and hated. We know who their main players are, and you all suck.
The barrier to stop them from doing things, they want to destroy it. We are not letting them do it, and we're united.
Okay.
And you know what their attitude is?
What a dork. Chuck reminds us of the rat scene played by Jack Nicholson in The Departed. Go watch and compare. Yeah, you know it's bad when even The View starts to play him off. Anti-fascists are very fascist. Sounds like communism. Ugh, these people. Gross. Hey, Nicole Shanahan, though, she's giving us a little bit of hope, it looks like.
It's wrong to ever trust these people. It's like and many Democrats are opening up to this acceptance that they were wrong, they were misguided, they were lied to. And it's all this bait and switch. And that's what the party's been. And that's what, and nobody in their right mind can continue to support that.
So if some people can come around, maybe the rest of us can come around. Yeah. Is this a part of a, no, this is just one meme. In 2023, they say, look at them overreact, refusing to buy Bud Light. Now, I'm burning every Tesla to the ground. Lunatics. Yeah, best joke of the week. Federal judge orders rescued astronauts back to space. That is joke of the week. Here you go. Let's watch. This is fantastic.
That is none other than Sunny Williams. Big smile, big waves. She, like her other crew members, now will be assisted onto the mobility aid.
We're getting some views of him now as he egresses or exits the spacecraft.
Once again, some elation and cheers. That is none other than Sunny Williams. Big smile, big waves. She, like her other crew members, now will be a...
There you go. Awesome. Thank you, President Trump and Elon Musk. Shame on every Democrat. It really is just a shame. Yep, here's the landing again. I'll watch it again. Oh, no, I can't because it's got the doggone piano in it. But yep, there it goes. Or is this all CGI? What do you say? Is this real or CGI? I mean, that spinning thing, that is so cinematic. That's stupid. As they're all spinning and cascading to the ground as this thing circles in a 360. Come on. It doesn't get more cinematic than that. So either it's perfect or it's fake. Is it perfect or fake? What do you say? Hey, let's meet this guy. What goes around comes around. This mentally ill, crazed individual named Daniel Clark Pounder caught himself on fire while throwing Molotov cocktails at a Tesla charging station. He's now sitting in a South Carolina jail. What a loser. Yeah, if you find yourself attacking people for the vehicle that they're driving, the people not drinking Bud Light are like, hey, you're pushing this trans stuff. You're trying to confuse impressionable kids to push them into expensive, unnecessary medical surgeries that will ruin their ability to reproduce or have an orgasm for the rest of their life. They're not 18. They're not old enough to get face tattoos or enlist in the military. You're certainly not old enough to start chopping off perfectly healthy body parts. So yeah, if Bud Light's pushing this stuff, maybe we're going to take our dollars elsewhere. And if that's the case, you do it. You don't attack Bud Light drivers. You don't attack the kiosks and knock all the shelves down. You don't. Okay. All right. Kid Rock purchased some Bud Light. Kid Rock took his weapon and he shot his own Bud Light saying, I'm done drinking this crap. He didn't shoot somebody else's. These Democrats, they're acting like domestic terrorists. They are domestic terrorists. And it's really time we just treat them that way. Because they're doing it to themselves. They are the ones who are doing this to themselves. All right, let's continue. There he is. Bravo. You made the news, buddy. Yeah. Democrats are fuming that Trump deported foreign terrorists. Let that sink in. Fuming mad that we're getting rid of people who have no right to be here that are criminals. And here you go. I love this one. You know this famous scene from the end of let me go to the back one. This famous scene from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. By the way, as I've mentioned on the show before, I did get to participate in a game show called Catch 21 with Carlton as the host. It was an awesome day. Trivia and blackjack, and I won. It's in the archives if you search for it. Catch 21. But yeah, this is the end scene. It's kind of like the end of the series, and it's when they're moving out of their home in Bel-Air, and it's like really the end of an era. And so this is saying Democrats just lost 309,000 voter registrations through February. Their party's favorability has dropped to a record low, with recent polls as low as 29%. Bravo. Freaking bravo. But 29% is too high. You can do better. Take them down to 10%. Only the mentally ill should be. And like Roseanne said, there's no more negotiating with these people. They have declared war with you. Fine. There is no more negotiating with crazy. You just point and laugh. There is no sense. You have to know people in your life that are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. There is no talking to them. There is no finding common ground. It is a mental illness. So, just act accordingly. They hate you, and you should not be in places where a majority of the people around you hate you. You should leave those places. We've been saying flee blue cities for a long time. They hate you, and they won't protect you. In fact, they'll encourage violence against you. Act accordingly. Prepare yourself. Be ready. The Democrats are trouble. This one here says some people wouldn't know tyranny if it covered their faces, locked them in their homes, enacted the biggest wealth transfer in history, censored them and made them show papers, and force medicated them. Those are your Democrats, the ones still wearing their masks today. And there it is, the left-wing activist who set himself on fire while burning Tesla charges. Or is this another one? Might be another one for all I know. There's a lot of that going on. Really wacky stuff. All right. Switching over to our X feed. We will switch over to our X feed and dig in to these stories. Yes. Yeah, all right. There's our documentary, Hurricane Helene Help on the Way. I've played that for you guys before, haven't I? Of course I have. You know I have. And you know that I could play the intro one more time. I want you to watch this. I want you to share this, please. It's a story I don't want us to lose track of. Just play the quick intro. Ask that you share this, like this on Rumble, on YouTube. Leave a comment on it. Try to get the algorithm saying that this needs to be shared more.
There was no notifications going to your phone, like an Amber Alert, like evacuate. I get alerts from Denny's. There actually was a bunch of houses right here that are here now. You can see. Look.
This is Grizzly. Blake Wally and myself went down to get a tour of Southern Virginia, Tennessee, and Western North Carolina. He's familiar with this area, so we coordinated. And we had a really cool donation drop. There were several local businesses that helped fill my vehicle full of supplies that we donated, fresh water and backpacks and flashlights and gloves and just all sorts of shovels and disinfectant, just all sorts of supplies to whoever needs it. And he took us on a tour as we made the donation route, but he's familiar with this area. Grizzly.
There was no notifications going to your phone, like an Amber Alert, like evacuate. I get alerts from Denny's. There actually was a bunch of houses right here that are here now. You can see, look how big the river is, like the riverbed. Holy, look at this Dollar General, bro.
it blesses your heart to see the way people have come together.
Yeah.
I heard like 4 different people talking about like how everybody's just worried this initial hop's going to die away and people are just going to forget about it. And really none of these communities can afford to be forgotten.
I mean, they were absolutely wrecked. These people were absolutely wrecked. And it would be nice if we could keep the pressure up, keep the story flowing. Keep the story flowing. All right. Let's continue. We'll share this feed. There we go. Instead. Perfect. Let's dive into the news here on our Instagram, on our YouTube feed. Yeah, we just shared this. Jack Nicholson rat. A little rat. All right, Roger Stone. There's going to be a lot. Let's talk about JFK as it pops up here. I'm going to tell you what other people are saying. I mean, you can read all the documents yourself, and you can click on our X feed to see what everybody's referencing. But let's just unpack what other people are saying for consideration here. Roger Stone says it's indisputable that Vice President Lyndon Baines Johnson instructed his staff to bring him an extra set of clothing to Dallas on November 21st, 1963. What did Lyndon Baines Johnson know was coming? Well, that's quite a leap. Although Roger Stone's as connected a human being as anyone else. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk and the judges here once again. Now, a district judge has ordered the U.S. military can continue enlisting mentally delusional transgender troops, and they're justifying the ruling by quote. Oh, I did tell you this about quoting Hamilton. I guess I did share that on the Instagram feed. Okay. Elon saying this is a judicial coup. We need 60 senators to impeach the judges and restore the rule of the people. Yeah, and these were a couple about making English the official language because we shared those while we were talking. Mike Benz talking with Elon, talking with Joe Rogan. This isn't just using propaganda on Americans. The Obama doctrine has caused, well, a whole bunch of problems. Let's take a listen.
Are you familiar with the Smith-Mundt Act?
Is that the 2011, 2000?
And I was talking about the Smith-Mundt Act earlier in today's program.
2012 thing where Obama allowed people to use propaganda against United States citizens?
Yeah, that was what was done then under Obama was the effective repeal of it. It was called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. But the modernization got rid of the whole purpose of it, the firewall, because at the time the media and media control was seen as the linchpin crux of winning the Cold War, piping in pro-U.S. Media influence because everything moved after World War II from kinetic warfare and military occupation. We used to militarily occupy the Philippines, for example, after we won the Spanish-American War, but that was banned under international law. Territorial acquisition by military force in 1948. So we had to win elections, and we had to influence the passage of laws in foreign countries by having an apparatus inside those countries that influenced the hearts and minds of people, which influenced who they voted for, which then determined the government. So you had to move towards political vassalage rather than military occupation. And what the Smith-Mundt Act did is, simultaneous with the creation of this in 1948, Congress recognized the Frankensteinian monster they were creating by authorizing a covert, permanent Department of Dirty Tricks, and this is their phrase, not mine, to do this cloak and dagger, to infiltrate and co-opt the universities, the unions, the media, the politicians, the judges, the whole swarm army. What I have been calling for a long time the USAID Truman Show, because it's these people in these foreign countries have no idea how many of the things they interact with that are effectively a movie set being constructed by the U.S. State Department and its sister influence orgs. But the point that I'm getting at here is the Smith-Mundt Act in 1948 said, okay, you guys can do this. State Department can do this. CIA can do this. USAID, when it came along 13 years later, could do this. But So there was a guy named Frank
Not on our
Wisner who was known as one of the godfather figures of the CIA. He's known for creating what was called the Wisner's Wurlitzer, which was it's like a church organ, and that he would brag that he could play the international media like a symphony to make any media narrative go viral in any country on earth because of the suite of CIA proprietary media functions and its distribution network, especially when the U.S. had first mover advantage in radio and print. It's basically the U.S. and U.K. were the only games in town really in having robust radio, film, TV, and print media. So the Smith-Mundt said, okay, you can do that abroad. You can plant fake news stories in France. You can, have propaganda blare into Africa or Western Europe or Central Asia, but that can't come home. You can't psyop our own people with your propaganda organ abroad, because the whole point of authorizing this is that we get cheaper gas, we get import-export markets, we get a high standard of living, because if a foreign government doesn't want to give up its resources or allow a U.S. military base or allow joint partnerships or exports of goods or U.S. multinational corporations to operate there, then the American people suffer economically. So it was always designed to say, listen, you can do this dirty stuff abroad, but it can't come home. We have and even that protection, which lasted for 70 years, and we only lost it a decade ago. We're up against a much actually deeper, darker problem with this USAID scandal, and as people will see increasingly, the scandals that will break open at the Pentagon and the State Department, which is that we have a Smith-Mundt problem for funding and operations. It's not just propaganda. The Blob, our foreign policy establishment, can fund groups that effectively work with prosecutors domestically, or that work at media, dual use. We give them foreign grants to do media propaganda abroad, but they operate here. Or social media censorship, to coerce foreign countries to pass foreign censorship laws that explicitly and are intended to attack U.S. social media companies and in U.S. peer-to-peer speech. So we need that protection. Yep. If we're going to keep this function at all, we need a hard firewall and absolute grotesque penalties for any violation.
This is kind of connecting the dots on a lot of things that we're finding right now. A lot of the problems are because of the Smith-Mundt Act. And you're like, I used to watch CNN. There were a couple shows on MSNBC. Shit, Glenn Beck used to be on there. And I don't know, there were a couple of, I used to watch these channels and just whatever. They got all pretty wonky when Obama was in there because he turned them into propaganda outlets for craziness. All right, let's talk about JFK here. Shadow of Ezra reporting, newly released JFK files shedding more light on Operation Mongoose. This reveals that the CIA planned agricultural sabotage in Cuba using biological agents to trigger crop failure. Hey, remember Lyme disease coming off the east coast of the United States? Where was that? Off the coast of New Jersey, I think. Operation Mongoose, CIA planned agricultural sabotage in Cuba using biological agents to trigger crop failure, trying to starve populations. The documents confirm that the CIA considered bioweapons for regime change. Wow. Isn't that what happened in 2019, 2020? Wow. It's almost like they did it again. He continues, aerial spraying could have been a possible method for dispersing chemicals over farmland. The individuals in the document used subtle biological agents to avoid detection, ensuring no clear link to the United States. All right. Okay. Let's talk about the judges. Laura Loomer saying we need to impeach a lot of judges in our country. Elon says it's essential. President Donald Trump released this statement. He said this radical left lunatic of a judge, a troublemaker and agitator who was sadly appointed by Barack Hussein Obama, was not elected president. He didn't win the popular vote by a lot. He didn't win all 7 swing states. He didn't win 2750 to 525 counties. Yeah, that's like all the counties. He didn't win anything. I won for many reasons in an overwhelming mandate. but fighting illegal immigration may have been the #1 reason for this historic victory. I'm just doing what the voters wanted me to do. This judge, like many of the crooked judges I am forced to appear before, should be impeached. We don't want vicious, violent, and demented criminals, many of them deranged murderers, in our country. Make America great again. We had a conversation here. So Adam put out, the JFK files contain redacted versions of files that have already been released unredacted. Just like the Epstein files, we've been played. Oh, here's a good one. This guy got shot before he could talk, and this guy got shot before he could talk. From JFK to Trump, how the deep state eliminates its enemies. JFK stood in their way, so did RFK. Now Trump is in their crosshairs. The deep state doesn't lose power, it eliminates threats. The same forces behind history's darkest moments are at work again. Is America sleepwalking into another coup? But Alt13 said another promise almost kept, but not really. More lies and cover-ups. Where are the arrests? And so we put this question out. It's a question for Pam Bondi and Director Kash Patel. The files were ordered to be released. Can't use the excuse to protect minors like the Epstein files. So why are there redactions? We want the truth. America has been victimized long enough. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. We'll let you know if they reply. These judges are out of control. Here's Mike Davis explaining what is going on with these two Supreme Court justices. Why are they terrified to do their job? And how soon can they? Well, let's just go ahead.
Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett were too scared to do their jobs, as we were talking about. They want to say it's a TRO, it's not appealable. Okay, Professor Barrett, good work. Because here we are 2 weeks later, and we have these activist judges, particularly in D.C., but all over the country, sabotaging the President of the United States, the presidency, his core Article 2 power. And before it was personnel matters that are bad, but not a national security crisis. Now these judges have created a national security crisis. When this D.C. Obama judge, Jeb Boasberg, people say he's the moderate one, so I guess he's only 95% Marxist instead of 100% Marxist, so he's moderate in D.C., right?
Yeah.
And so he runs into his chambers on Saturday during the middle of a national security operation, a secret national security operation that President Trump is handling in conjunction with the Salvadorian president, where they are trying to secretly get out of our country the most vicious terrorist in the Western Hemisphere, Tren de Aragua gangs, along with MS-13 gang members. And during the middle of this national security operation, this Judge Boasberg runs to his chambers and holds a hearing, right, which publicly exposes the fact that this national security operation, this military intel and law.
The president is the commander-in-chief. He has the jurisdiction to do this. There's no constitutional crisis except for what the activist judges are up to.
Enforcement operation is ongoing, putting American lives in grave danger along with the lives of our allies. And so he exposes this operation through his court proceeding. He says the hearing was closed. Well, it's not in a skiff, right? This hearing will leak out, and it did leak out. He actually ordered the planes, the president, to turn around the planes full of these designated foreign terrorists. Judge Boasberg said that the president had to turn around the planes. And that is why the Article 3 project, I've never done this. I have called for the president and his administration to ignore this lawless, dangerous order because it puts American lives in danger along with our allies. I'm also calling for the House of Representatives to impeach Judge Jeb Boasberg for his sabotage of a national security operation, putting American lives in danger along with our allies. And I want to say this to the Chief Justice and his wingwoman, Amy Coney Barrett. You have failed to do your job.
Yep. You have failed to do your jobs. John Galt here saying Roberts is compromised, likely Barrett too. Here's the only solution. Law of self-defense posits this. Do you agree or disagree with this? I don't know why nobody's listening to me on this, but I'll say it again louder. Impeachment is too high a bar. You need 67 senators, and you don't have 67 senators. But federal judges can also be removed from the bench for failing to serve during good behavior, in Article 3, Section 1, condition of employment under the Constitution. Most of these activist judges are violating their own judicial branch code of conduct for the United States judges in various ways, and are therefore violating the Constitution's serve during good behavior clause and can be fired for cause. That's a simple majority in the House and Senate, and you do have that. All right, let's see what happens. Representative Brandon Gill ignores Chief Justice John Roberts and moves to impeach Judge Boseberg anyway. Why is Chief Justice John Roberts coming out against Trump for calling out the judge who tried to keep gang member illegal aliens in the United States? Speaker of Truth says Judge John Roberts must be impeached. Oh, it's just a GIF. That's not him talking. Judge John Roberts must be impeached for what he said. Congress can absolutely impeach judges. Vince Langman saying, maybe I missed it. Did John Roberts put out a statement condemning Joe Biden after he stated he would ignore the Supreme Court's decision on student loan forgiveness and find a way around it? Duforn is asking, the same John Roberts that was on the Epstein Island? All right. So that's the accusation of this Duforn, showing a document that has a John Roberts on it. And here's a picture of a guy from the side. That sure looks like Bill Clinton. Is that enough of an image to see, is that John Roberts? Are you convinced by that? Mila Joy says, did Chief Justice of the Supreme Court John Roberts visit Epstein Island? I've heard rumblings, and it sure would make a lot of sense, right? There is a John Roberts on the Epstein flight log. Is it the Chief Justice? All right. I mean, Mila Joy spelled island wrong and spelled Chief Justice wrong. So, take it with a grain of salt, but let's look into that. Let's report back. Who nominated John Roberts? The same guy who recommended Bill Barr to POTUS. President Trump. These networks run deep, crazy deep, over long periods of time. Wow, look at Billy Boy. Sheesh. Ahem, yes, Roberts will protect Boseberg because Boseberg, who Roberts appointed to be presiding judge of the FISC, has major leverage over Roberts. Boseberg has assembled his shields over years, and CTH has outlined every step. This is according to The Last Refuge. The brutally obvious began surfacing when Boseberg appointed Mary McCord as amicus to the FISC. Strong probability McCord is active CIA. McCord's husband, Sheldon Snook, was the key staff of Roberts and almost certainly the leaker of the Dobbs decision. Chief Justice Roberts had to hide that reality, which he did after the U.S. Marshal investigation, because it put the leak inside his office. You thought it was Sotomayor? You thought it was that other lady with the names Jackson, what's her name? Ketanji Brown Jackson? Jackson Brown? They're saying it's Justice Roberts that leaked it. Huh. Boseberg knows that the leak came from inside that office and other stuff, and Robert reacts to eyes on Boseberg from a defensive posture. This because, as the Calvin Coolidge Project has reported, Chief Justice John Roberts slams President Trump's call to impeach Boseberg. Quote, for more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to a disagreement concerning a judicial decision. Yeah, when you're running cover to actively subvert the will of the American people and the President of the United States, yeah, you impeach him. What are we doing? This is about violent, crazy, illegal, not allowed to be here gang members. Goodbye. Not our problem. Should have never been here in the first damn place. So Frab here says John Roberts knows who leaked the Dobbs decision. Sheldon Snook, Mary McCord's husband, who was a Roberts staffer. Mila Joy also says SCOTUS doesn't usually speak up on political debate in America, but John Roberts just did. Spelled Roberts wrong. Mila, work on your typing. This statement from Chief Justice John Roberts makes me want to push for impeachment as a huge FU to him. The comment from Roberts continues, the normal appellate review process exists for the purpose of disagreement regarding judicial decision. Libs of TikTok put this out here. Fort Myers City Council members hold hands and cry after being asked to authorize local law enforcement to cooperate with ICE. Seems totally normal and stable.
Thank you for what you said. Thank you for your comments. I cannot begin to imagine how difficult this is for you.
What?
The argument, and I know there's no malintent to it, that we would risk federal or state funding if I don't sign up for this. It is a tumultuous day and age, and this is a day I hate sitting in the seat. But my city's not for sale.
Huh? Your city's not for sale, but you're allowing illegal alien invaders to what? Cooperating with ICE.
So if I can just add, once again, I happen to be an illegal alien and have a warrant, a civil warrant for that purpose. This is allowing our police officers, our police department to do a better job. It's not what it's portrayed to be. And with that, if there's no other comments.
One more comment.
Yes.
It's quite obvious we're going to get a 3-3 vote here. And I'd like to say that we table this for the workshop and vet it out, but maybe your police department can bring it forward and we can understand the issues better. So I would, if the councilman would like to amend that to...
Yeah, we're just saying it's time to recall the people who don't prioritize citizens over illegal alien invaders. They're acting treasonous. They're out of line. Remove them from office by recall, impeachment, and in every upcoming election. All right, so Free State Will here says, holy cow, the CIA was opening U.S. Postal Service mail being sent to the USSR and had 300 CIA staff indexing 250,000 names. There's a lot of crazy stuff in the JFK files. So go ahead and dig in. These are the documents being referenced here. If some of the show is scattered between this story, this topic, that topic, it's how we're unpacking it. You know, the stories show up on the feed, how they show up on the feed. But a lot of these are all connected. Yeah, so Thomas Sowell quote says, again, why do people insist on doing this? Point of view, you drive a pink Cybertruck and you get harassed daily by strangers because of something that has nothing to do with you. So who's this person? Can we make him internet famous? Where's the volume on this? No volume? No volume. This is what Democrats are doing to American citizens. Vote them all out. Oh, let me get to your comment here. A human being. Hello. A photograph captures Albert Thomas, a Texas congressman with strong ties to the military-industrial complex, giving LBJ a knowing wink while Johnson smirks back. The wink. Well, here, let's do LBJ the wink. Is this the black and white on the plane? All right, let's share the wink. Is that an eye wink while her husband was exploded right in front of her? This photograph taken on Air Force One immediately after being sworn in as the 36th president, Lyndon Johnson standing next to Jackie Kennedy with her husband's blood still on her dress. turns to his longtime friend, Texas Congressman Albert Thomas, and smiles. As Thomas returns a wink and a smirk. White House photographer who took the photo, Cecil Stoughton, has stated he feels as if this photograph is sinister. Edsel says LBJ led the team, gave the order, ensured the cover-up, and began a mess that God has finally given us someone that knows how to rectify the situation. That's about it. Grab some popcorn. Behind the wink. Yeah, back and to the left. I can't. Oh, I can zoom in? Oh, wow, I can zoom in. Robert F. Kennedy. Why did you have my brother killed? Nixon, LBJ, he never likes to be number 2. All right, anyway. Okay, there's the wink. This one's saying the second shooter was the driver. The Bush Sr. had others involved. They're going to get JFK in Tampa days before Dallas, according to that. There's the wink. This says LBJ enabled Israel's nuclear program and let it get away attacking the USS Liberty. Congressman Thomas winks at LBJ. All right, well, there's the wink. Widely known, widely seen, very gross. Colin Rugg says newly released JFK. Let me take this off. Newly released JFK files tell a story about how Gary Underhill, this is the name you're hearing everywhere, who worked for the CIA, was found dead after he revealed to friends that the CIA was responsible for JFK's assassination. The day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination, he confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment, and the coroner ruled it a suicide. Here are the documents for you to peruse. They're on American_media_. Really quick, tell you what's going on in Florida. DeSantis doesn't want to be upstaged. Maybe he's still aiming at 2028. Florida taxpayers have been hit hard by local property taxes, as many local governments have increased their budgets significantly. Today, I'm calling on all Florida counties and municipalities to voluntarily work with our Florida Doge team to review local spending and financial practices. In Bay County, the County Commission will be adopting a resolution to collaborate with Florida Doge and review finances. That sounds good. Russell Brand saying, wait, did JFK Jr. warn us that Joe Biden was a traitor to America before he was killed? Envelope postmarked Worcester, Mass. 94, bearing handwritten printed address, Senator Joseph Biden, Delaware, U.S. Capitol Building. Accompanying hand-printed letter dated August 26, 94, beginning, Dear Senator Biden, you are a traitor. And bearing the signature, John F. Kennedy Jr. Holy shit. Oh, we voted to put Bobby Kennedy Jr. in office. Here's an attack here within 24 hours of Conor McGregor calling attention to the migrant crisis in Ireland. Footage emerges of migrants viciously attacking a man in broad daylight on the streets of Dublin. Conor was right, and everyone in Ireland knows he's right. We said, make Ireland great again. The deep state has declared a war upon us. It's time to defend country and humanity. Here's a guy who says leftists are now attacking black people. Oh, God. They are white supremacists, and this proves it.
It's a white Tesla. No. This is what happened to my car. Look at this. Look at this.
Y'all see this? Clown American. I don't know what this is. Is this paint? War. Bro, somebody destroyed my car. Destroyed my car while I was taking who up to the doctor. Gross. Destroyed my car. Gross. This is no cap.
No cap.
So
anyway,
what the fuck do I have to do with Elon? I like the car because it's a nice little car. It's unaverage. This is crazy. Look at this. Imagine riding around with my son in this car. I don't have my camera. I don't have nothing. I'm straight using my goddamn phone, bro.
The Democrats have become a... Actually, let me undo the repo. Oh, shoot. Where'd it go? Doggone it. Hold on. Doggone it. Need to find that post and reshare it. Oh, good grief. Democrats attacking. There we go. Democrats are now a domestic terrorist organization at Pam Bondi. Wait. Attorney General Pam Bondi at FBI Cash. Can the Democrat Party be properly designated for their civil rights violating domestic terrorism acts? They burned America down in the 20 Summer of Love and are at it again. Enough is enough. There we go. All right. Did my due diligence there. Let's go back. There we go. Roger Stone here saying President Nixon told me. Where are we at? President Nixon told me that the Warren Commission was the biggest goddamn hoax in American history. That's what Nixon told Stone. He also told me Lyndon Johnson and I both wanted to be president. The difference was I wasn't willing to kill for it. Damn. Liz Churchill reminding you of this particular moment. Remember when they said Hillary just needed a glass of water? They lie to you every day about everything that they can. Look at her wobbling. 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 Wobbling, stumbling, falling. The robot is malfunctioning. Yep, Hillary's okay. Biden's okay. Don't trust your lying eyes. Let's take a watch of this. Lionel says, you have no idea how happy this makes me. The fact that our president is actually ruffling the feathers of a group of miserable historical illiterates who, for some reason, have been led to believe that they run this country.
This is a shame. What my first.
There we go.
So thank you very much. We're here to have our first board meeting, Kennedy Center, and it's in tremendous disrepair. As loses a lot of the rest of our country, most of it because of bad management. This is a shame what I've watched and witnessed. They spent a fortune, $250 million, and they built these rooms that nobody's going to use, rooms underground. And I've often wondered, what are the big cubes that they have outside that block the view? They're cubes with a door in them, so that people can get down to rooms that nobody's going to use. And it's a shame. It's a shame. The other thing is we're going to have a little problem with some people that work here. We had Lee Greenwood wanted to sing a little song today, and because of the cost and the union structure, for him to sing a song just for the board, just a board meeting, it was going to cost $30,000. That doesn't sound too good. They wanted $30,000 to move a piano, so you can't have that. So we're gonna fix it up. But it's really emblematic of our country. But the Kennedy Center, you look at the columns outside, you look at, I mean, they're supposed to be covered by something, whether it's marble or whatever, granite. They were never covered, they were painted. But bringing it to more modern times, a lot of money's been given to it, and the money has not been properly spent. They built rooms underground with no windows, no nothing, that will not be used ever. You're not going to have people use them. It's such a waste of money, such a terrible waste, but we'll make it.
Just, I think one of the most prescient parts there was just looking at the entire country. It's not just that the Kennedy Center is in disrepair. Everything is in disrepair. Everything is an absolute mess. If you wouldn't have blocked Trump the first time around, maybe he'd have a lot of these problems resolved by now. And that's part of their plan. They just want to delay. They want to obfuscate. They want to run interference. But I definitely appreciate getting to the bottom of and fixing so many of these problems. Jeremiah, you're talking about the song by Johnny Cash. I posted that, the lyrics here. Talking about the pale horse. The song is called The Man Comes Around. It says from 2002. So that's a new one. Oh, where did... hold on. Wait, why did it reset to there? Let's scroll down. There we go. Okay. Shadow of Ezra. Newly released JFK files confirm a secret intelligence pipeline between the CIA and Israeli intelligence, personally overseen by CIA counterintelligence chief James Angleton. This wasn't just routine intel sharing. It was a deliberate effort to conceal Israel's involvement in sensitive U.S. operations, bypassing standard intelligence channels. Angleton acted as the sole gatekeeper, ensuring that all Israeli-related intelligence was filtered through him alone. He also controlled the flow of intel to the FBI, carefully scrubbing reports to ensure that Israeli intelligence was never directly named, a covert operation hidden in plain sight. Israeli matters, relating to Israeli matters. The Israeli intelligence matters. Israeli intelligence service. So, what role did Israel play in the assassination of the duly elected president of the United States? Dinesh D'Souza putting this out. Let's just play this. Hunter Biden is sending a message, says Dinesh. Yes, admittedly. What message is he trying to send? What is happening? His eyes are all glassy. Who knows? Let's play a little bit from Alex Jones here.
Bring us back to that. Specifically, what did Trump say to you?
He said,
This is Roger in his own words now.
I said, well, why aren't you releasing this? And he said, well, Pompeo thinks it would expose our methods and sources. And I said, but Mr. President, you've seen it all. What it is? What is it? And he said, it's so horrible. He said, I can't tell you, but someday you'll know. I think what we're talking about here is the involvement of the Central Intelligence Agency, hard evidence that they were involved in the plot to kill Kennedy.
Why'd you fight to keep the JFK files secret?
Because I was trying to keep Americans safe. And by the way, don't paint with too broad a brush. 99.6% of the JFK files are public today.
But it was 60 years ago.
John, not everything was 60 years ago. And I don't want to spend a lot of time walking through this, but suffice it to say, the definition of a document covered by this statute that you're referring to, it's a little bit wonky, but suffice it to say, if Congress holds a hearing tomorrow on the Kennedy assassination, the documents generated tomorrow will be part of those files. Those would be tomorrow, they'd be 60 seconds old, not 60 years old. And last thing I'll say is there are things that happened 60 years ago that are still important to keep in the vault. There are lots of things that happened that long ago that still are appropriate not to release. Think of names and addresses and families.
When I was a cadet, what's the cadet motto at West Point? You will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
Yeah. Then CIA director, according to Alex Jones, Director Mike Pompeo begged the president not to release 20% of the files because they implicated the CIA. Concerned citizen put this out and says, what do the JFK files tell us so far? JFK called Joe Biden a traitor. CIA orchestrated the entire assassination. There are links to Mossad in Israel. There are ties to the Khazarian mafia. Gary Underhill was murdered after revealing it was a CIA operation. So pull the nouns out. Biden, traitor, CIA, assassination, Mossad, Israel, Khazarian mafia, Gary Underhill, murder, CIA, operation. Well, shit. Why are we protecting people that overthrew our country? Why would anyone say we owe a debt of gratitude to people that murdered our elected leader in a coup to overthrow our country? And if Joe Biden was identified as a traitor back in, when was that, the 90s? How was he allowed to steal America in 2020? The same organization? Okay, then Houston, I think we have a problem with this organization. We got a big problem. All right, so this one's wild. Back to Tesla. Now you're having the counter protesters. So Nick Cruz Patane says, diesel trucks, coal rolling. Hang on, let me ask Grok. What is coal rolling? I mean, I get it, but... Oh, I need to ask Grok. Hold on. What is coal rolling? Modifying a diesel truck or vehicle to intentionally emit large amounts of black exhaust smoke, often by tampering with the engine or exhaust system. Typically done by installing aftermarket devices like smoke switches or tuners that override emission controls, causing the engine to burn more fuel than necessary. The result is a thick cloud of dark soot, which some enthusiasts use as a form of expression, protest, or to annoy others, sometimes targeting cyclists, pedestrians, or hybrid electrical vehicle drivers. Started gaining traction in truck culture around the early 2000s, especially in the U.S. Tied to a mix of automotive hobbyism and pushback against environmental regulations. Critics see it as wasteful and polluting. Supporters frame it as a statement of freedom or defiance. Legally a gray area, federal emissions laws, Okay, coal rolling. So this person says, diesel trucks, coal rolling Tesla protesters was not on my 2025 bingo card. We on the same team now? blasting all the protesters. I didn't have that on my bingo card either. Wake Up America says Representative Lauren Boebert has announced that she will support an impeachment resolution against James Bosaberg. Elon says yes, 100. Elon put a post out back in May of 2020. He already rightfully predicted this. He said, in the past, I voted Democrat because they were mostly the kindness party, but they have become the party of division and hate, so I can no longer support them and will vote Republican. Now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold. He knew. Elon now says the left is the party of violence and hate. Here's Tesla's on fire. So stupid. So stupid. Batteries exploding. Bunch of idiots. This was where we disagreed with President Trump. We said this isn't good. Pierre Poilievre would be good for Canada. Why is BlackRock taking over the Panama Canal? Why is Trump going against Representative Thomas Massie? We certainly appreciate all the MAGA wins, but these are some really bad policy positions that MAGA should reverse. Here's the conversation between Trump and what's her face? Laura Ingraham.
Isn't that going to make them more hostile to us and possibly
I'd rather
open the
deal
door
with a liberal than a
for
conservative.
China closer to Canada, and that would really put us in a bind.
I'd rather deal with a liberal than a conservative.
Closer to Canada, and that would really put us in a bind.
The conservative that's running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things. So when he says negative things, I couldn't care less. I think it's easier to deal, actually, with a liberal.
Isn't that going to be?
Okay. J.D. Vance said negative things about you. I don't know. Pierre Poilievre seems to be the one that should be leading Canada. Is Mark Carney better? Pierre says last night President Trump endorsed Mark Carney. Why? Because as Trump said, he's easier to deal with and knows that I will be a tough negotiator and always put Canada first. Carney is weak and would cave to Trump's demands, just like he did when he moved his company headquarters from Canada to New York City. Canadians don't want a weak and conflicted leader. They want a strong prime minister who will put Canada first. So my question is this President Trump playing four-dimensional chess? Is he sharing how he's going to rebuild Gaza? Remember that video that he put out with golden statues of Trump and drinking beverages seaside at a palace casino, a Trump casino in Gaza, the Riviera of the Mediterranean? Like, oh my God, I can't believe Trump's advocating boots on the ground. He's lost his mind. This is why I didn't vote for Trump. See, Trump's just like the rest. Then you see other reports going, Middle Eastern leaders are saying that they're going to do the rebuilding because they don't want Trump to do it. So you got to put something out to make them go, oh, if Trump's for it, I got to be against it. So is Trump giving Pierre Poilievre a nice nod of approval here? Saying, well, if Pierre is going to if he's going to be tough and work hard for Canada being first, we got to elect him because we're sick of this Trudeau crap. Keep your eyes peeled on this. Actually, I'm going to ask him. Where's his? I'm trying to type his name. Where's Pierre Pol? P-I-R-R-E. Why can't I-E-V-R-E? Am I spelling this right? P-I-E-R-R-E-P-O-L-I-E-V-R-E. Is this at real Donald Trump playing four-dimensional chess to get your angered nation to rally behind you? Frankly, we hope Canada gets a strong leader to help America instead of whatever crap Trudeau was doing. All right, let's see if Pierre responds. Yeah, you really just toss these out as messages in bottles, is what it amounts to. And sometimes people respond. It's kind of fun. A van exploded outside West Quay Shopping Center in Southampton. Britain is not okay. He said Britain allowed itself to get invaded. Send back the non-citizens and reclaim your nation, regardless of who orchestrated this attack, if not accidental. The Obama doctrine has been attempting to colonize every sovereign nation on Earth and has been exploding, and crime has been exploding as a result. Keep your eyes peeled. There's more and more attacks across Europe. More swatting. These are attempted murders. Here's another update from Alex Jones.
Just a few hours ago, InfoWars reporter and anchor Owen Schroyer was swatted at his home in South Austin. The video that he posted is below. This is all part of a escalating, ramping up terror campaign by the NGOs, by the Democratic Party, by the globalists. It's all come out, the documents that Soros, using USAID money and EPA money his group's got, he always uses taxpayer money, is funding the Takedown Tesla group. He's funding all these different leftist harassment groups. He's always funded Antifa. His son Alexander came out in documents a decade ago, was like the commander of them nationwide, running the organizations through professors and NGOs. And so it's hundreds of people that have been swatted, not 20 or 30. Most people don't want to talk about it. I've talked to literally 50 or 60 of them that have called the office and called my crew. You name it, pretty much everybody's been swatted. And so now Owen has been swatted. Chase Geiser got swatted twice last week, same thing, hands up, back out. The police came out twice in the same day. They know these are false reports in almost every case. Some of the police departments around the country say they don't even know what swatting is. I mean, give me a break. It's been going on for decades, but it's escalating.
Yeah.
We have all the Tesla dealerships getting burned down, a couple of them yesterday. This is domestic terrorism. And then when Trump says he's going to do something about it, MSNBC says, they're just peacefully protesting. What's he talking about? And don't even mention all the attacks. And now they've put out an interactive map, a Democrat-funded group, that shows all the Tesla owners around the country.
Yeah, that map, that is a domestic terrorist act. That's a call to action. Where is Pam Bondi and Kash Patel?
And the cursor is a Molotov cocktail. So this is only going to ramp up. The Democrats, led by John Podesta, said if Trump won, Carville, Raskin, civil war conditions, an uprising, because Trump's going to kill people. They're planting false flags against illegal alien demonstrations. That's guaranteed. That's imminent. This is their plan, civil war to crash the economy, try to drive Trump from office. Trump's DOJ must start indicting the Democrats with their organized crime, racketeering, pushing the Tesla attacks. That's cut and dried, no excuses. There's a lot of technology these swatters are using where they can even spoof the number. This has been done to me, but I live on the edge of the county by Austin, so Travis County gets these calls all the time. Our office gets swatted all the time, but the police don't even respond now. How many times does this take until people get in trouble? I know there's a lot of ferreting has to be done, but MTG got swatted over 15 times. They finally busted the guys that did that. They're now in jail. But that took over a year for that to happen. We don't have time. People have been killed from these swatting events before. It's very, very serious. Our heart goes out to Owen. I've been calling him a bunch since I got up at 4 a.m. He just posted a video an hour and a half ago. He's not answering. I hope he's okay. I'm about to go over to his house. Seriously.
And they killed
I'm about
one
to leave and go to his house, make sure he's okay. We'll be on the air at 8 a.m. with Harrison Smith at Infowars.com/show. And
yeah, this is not okay. Hey, here's Tim Walls. What's he about? What's he up to?
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So
there's a leader of the domestic terrorist organization right there.
And if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, you know, and take out, just telling you. Saying on my phone, I don't.
He says, if you need a little boost during the day, check out Tesla stock. Elon says, sometimes when I need a little boost, I look at J.D. Vance's portrait in the White House and thank the Lord. We said, you don't hate the left enough. They despise you. They despise you. They despise us. They cannot tolerate a single disagreement on an issue, so they try to destroy us. We didn't ask for this fight. We just want to live our lives and be left alone. FAFO. So here's a report. A family in Western North Carolina whose home flooded 6 feet during Hurricane Helene are still waiting on approval from FEMA to move into their temporary home, which was delivered 2 months ago. FEMA claims that all of its homes are occupied. Then within an hour of posting this story, Matt Van Swol received a personal message from the director of FEMA. He said he sent his team to go work on this today at FEMA. This is what true leadership looks like. Absolutely amazing. What a difference. Turns out you didn't need new laws. You just needed a new president. Farm Girl Carrie says it looks like it was ultimately Obama who was behind the entire plot to undermine Donald Trump's presidency. Forget the Russians. Here is the real enemy. Agree or disagree? Lionel, looking at Mitch McConnell here.
Tariffs, Senator.
Well, let's just play
Here
it.
in Kentucky, or talk to him about it being a bad policy at all?
My hearing is not what it used to be.
Tariffs, Senator. Your comment is about tariffs. Tariffs. Comment about tariffs.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a fan of tariffs. I hope it works.
Or what that looks like here in Kentucky, or
Patient exhibits advanced senile dementia with profound cognitive impairment, severe hearing loss, frozen affect, pallor, and facial paralysis. No observable signs of awareness, responsiveness, or higher executive functioning present. That was quite a diagnostic from Lionel. Juanita Broderick, who was abused by Bill Clinton, allegedly, just got swatted. About 10 police and a SWAT team showed up. They said a caller said there were 2 masked men and people inside had been shot, and this shit needs to stop. No volume? What's with the no volume? Okay, no volume. After being raped by Bill Clinton, says Tom Fitton, smeared by his regime and targeted by the IRS, Juanita Broderick just had her life put at risk by the left. Sean Davis talking about the judges. To be clear, a trial judge who issued a press release against one of the parties in a case he oversees would be immediately removed from the case and potentially from the bench altogether for engaging in improper and prejudicial conduct unbecoming of a federal judge. Yet, this is exactly what John Roberts did today. Can anyone take the Supreme Court seriously when the Chief Justice is personally trashing a party whose interests are currently before the judiciary? If Alito or Thomas had trashed Biden in this manner while a major case on the topic was pending, and not even in off-the-cuff remarks, but via a deliberate and prepared written statement, Democrats would have filed impeachment charges before the ink on the press release was even dry. Given John Roberts' extremely inappropriate and prejudicial behavior here on a matter, judicial impeachment, over which he has no authority whatsoever, perhaps impeachment against him is something that should be investigated. This type of behavior from any judge, let alone the Chief Justice, is simply unacceptable and cannot be tolerated by anyone who understands a fair and impartial jury is vital to preserving the rule of law in this country. Also, are you aware that President Trump just announced Hunter and Ashley Biden will no longer receive Secret Service protection? And Hunter's in the face. I gotta mute the music. There's Hunter. There's Hunter. Oh, there's Hunter with 2 of his ladies. There's a wet Hunter. There's Hunter cracked out. Hunter being weird. Cocaine being found in the White House. Hunter's teeth are gone from drug use. Allegedly. He said, I got me a... Anyway, it's a montage of Hunter. Check that one out and the song. Can't play it for you. Yeah, AOC does not want you to retweet this video where she calls for Joe Biden to ignore the court's ruling. Because that's what's happening to Trump now, so they're all on the opposite team.
The news this afternoon, a couple hours ago, what did you think?
Well, you know, I think rulings like this
and I think we've seen from the FDA and also from activity in Congress that some of these rulings, I think we've been preparing and anticipating for there being these egregious overreaches by members of the judiciary appointed by a right-wing Republican Party whose goal for a very long time was to just pack these courts with partisan judges, often underqualified or completely unqualified for their role. And
she's describing the Democrats, by the way.
So there has been thought, I believe, given to this. Senator Ron Wyden has already issued statements, for example, advising what we should do in a situation like this, which I concur, which is that I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling. I think that the courts have the legitimacy and they rely on the legitimacy of their rulings. And what they are currently doing is engaged in an unprecedented and dramatic erosion of the legitimacy of the courts. It is the justices themselves, through the deeply partisan and unfounded nature of these rulings, that are undermining their own enforcement.
So you're saying,
wow, shoes on the other foot. So interesting. Yep, this is a satirical news website, Dunning-Kruger Times. We said this doesn't sound real. It's not real. $11,000 payment to Michelle Obama. We were right. Here's the hypocrisy between Obama getting away with wasteful spending cuts and Elon doing it.
Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions. And that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody. We're calling it the campaign to cut waste.
You know, there's been a tremendous amount of waste and fraud in the government during the Biden administration, which estimated the federal government fraud to be $500 billion. What we're trying to do is get that number down to a much smaller figure, save money for the American taxpayer, stop money being spent on things that I think very few taxpayers would agree make sense. Transgender animal surgeries. Or why are the 20 million people who are definitely dead marked as alive in the Social Security database?
Wonder if that's your paychecks. Seems obvious to
Everyone knows.
What is this? Andy No says Snopes lied to protect Ilhan Omar's father, claiming he was not a Somali military officer, part of a regime accused of mass killings and human rights atrocities. New reporting from Ashley Rindsberg. It says Snopes and PolitiFact use accusations of right-wing conspiracy theories to shut down reporting on a scandal that could upend Ilhan Omar's career and seriously damage the credibility of the squad. 2019, Snopes and PolitiFact debunked claims that Omar's father, Nur Omar Mohammed, was a high-ranking officer in Somali's Marxist Bar regime, which invaded Ethiopia in the late 70s and accused of genocide after massacring up to 200,000 people in the late 80s. Both fact-checkers claim Nur was merely a teacher-trainer in Somalia before he and his family immigrated to the U.S. Snopes even asserted that linking him to the Siad Bar regime was based quite literally on nothing but race. This despite Somali and Kenyan sources confirming that Omar's father was a colonel, an esteemed senior officer in the Bar regime, until its ousting in 91. For example, after Nur's death, a Somali diaspora website called Sahan Journal, a nonprofit digital newsroom focused on minority communities in Minnesota, ran an obituary praising his long and esteemed military career in the Bar regime. Yet major news outlets, including the New York Times and Reuters, still described Nur as a teacher trainer while he was living in Somalia, relying on Snopes and PolitiFact's shallow bad faith fact checks, which remain inaccurate. Meanwhile, another Bar regime officer, Youssef Abdul Ali Touke, was recently deported from the United States after courts found that he committed human rights abuses while serving under Bar. To be clear, Ilhan Omar isn't responsible for her father's decisions when she was a child. What does matter is how the fact-checking industry was able to kill a major political scandal with a thinly sourced bad faith fact check, protecting Democrat Party interests better than even the best crisis management firms could have ever dreamed. And there's a link to the story below. Also, did Ilhan Omar commit immigration fraud marrying her brother? If so, get her out of here. Revoke citizenship, put her in jail. Brother too. DC Jano reminding us that Trump canceled Biden's access to the presidential daily briefing. He canceled Hunter Biden's Secret Service detail. He said Hunter's pardons signed. He says that Biden's pardons have been signed with an auto pen and that they are null and void. Doesn't take a genius to see Trump's plan. He's going to hold the Biden family accountable for their crimes. FBI Director Kash Patel revealed he read the entire JFK file, including all classified secrets. He insists that the answers everyone is looking for are already out there. The things we can't release have nothing to do with the questions you're asking. Believe it? Don't believe it. U.S. District Judge Theodore D. Chuang, who was appointed by Obama, just ordered Elon Musk and Doge to restore nearly all of USAID's operations. Stephen Miller says a federal district court judge appoints himself king of foreign policy. Alex sharing that Trump just moved the Declaration of Independence into the Oval Office. 1776 has commenced again. How about that? Make these Tesla terrorists famous. Keying vehicles. Jeremy Boring is stepping down at Daily Wire, allegedly. If you want to watch, it's like an 8-minute movie here, or 8-minute video from this Ian Carroll. Oh, I have seen this guy before. I've seen him doing these. I haven't seen him in like long form formats. So keep your eyes peeled on the Daily Wire. Sean Davis saying, upon learning of JFK's assassination, Cuban diplomats immediately assumed the CIA killed JFK for the purpose of finishing what it started with the Bay of Pigs invasion. If the Yankees or CIA assassinated Kennedy to resume the assault on Cuba, then a third world war would start. One diplomat assumed the U.S. would try to blame Cuba. In a separate deposition, one American intelligence operative noted that multiple CIA assets connected to a particular CIA agent had been spreading misinformation that Cuba was behind the assassination in the immediate wake of JFK's murder. So did they do it to try to blame Cuba? Take a look at the file and read it for yourself. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Tom Homan continues to be very interesting. A very good part of the team. He's being interviewed here about immigration.
You're going to run out of money. It doesn't look like you're getting support from the Democrats on this. You're going against the judges now. What's next?
Another flight. Another flight every day. The teams are going to be out there every day. Every day, the men and women of ICE are going to be in the neighborhoods of this nation arresting criminal, illegal alien, public safety threats, and national security threats. Lawrence, you're not going to stop us. We made a promise to the American people. The President Trump has made a promise to American people. We're going to make this country safe again. I wake up every morning loving my job because I work for the greatest president in the history of my life, and we're going to make this country safe again. I'm proud to be a part of this administration. We're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
Bam. Remember this gem?
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? The fact.
What difference at this point does it make? A huge difference, because you're lying to us about what was going on with the gun running in CIA, what was going on in Benghazi, what was going on over there. You left these guys to get butchered, and then you lied about it, and we all know it. According to C3 here, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is about to release the Benghazi documents. We'll see if that does happen. Never forget, this evil woman left them to die and then lied about it. Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, Glenn Doherty, Tyrone Woods. Prison is too good. Yep, Juanita Broderick showing that JFK Jr. called Joe Biden a traitor in a handwritten letter. And he is. Inevitable West says Donald Trump has hired Christian Craighead, Obi-Wan Nairobi, as a personal bodyguard. He was a British SAS operator who stormed a hotel under terrorist siege and single-handedly eliminated multiple Islamists and saved more than 200 lives. This is the terror suspect engaged in anti-Tesla attack in Dallas-Fort Worth area. The FBI is looking for any information that could bring him to justice. If you know, call the FBI Dallas field office. Looks a little, you know what? I think I'm going to say, what is that guy's name? Tip of the tongue. Oh my gosh. Not Enrique Tarrio. Who was the guy? Oh, tip of my tongue. I need help. Pundit from Red Eye. What was the guy's name? This looks like the dude from Red Eye. Was he a Proud Boy? All right, I need help. It looks like this. Anyone, who does this look like? In the comments, I need to know. He's funny. A little edgy. I'm going to move on. I don't know. Tip of the tongue, tip of the tongue. I was going to tag him, but I can't think of his... not McGregor. Whoa. Oh, you know what? Here, let me see if I can do it this way. Men who appeared as guests on Red Eye on Fox. Let's see if Grok can get some names here. Gutfeld Bright, Gavin McInnes. There we go. I knew it was something Irish. Okay, good. Got to figure it out. Jeez. Here, we're going to quote at Gavin McInnes. Yeah, can't find him. I was going to tag him, but that looks like a relative of Gavin McInnes. Does anyone else see that? It looks like Gavin, sort of. Like they could be cousins. Dan Bongino says it's an honor to serve as the deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation at such a critical time in our nation. The American people deserve a justice system that is transparent, accountable, and committed to the rule of law. My promise is to you that I will work tirelessly to help restore integrity, eliminate political bias, and ensure the FBI remains dedicated to its core mission of protecting the U.S. and upholding the Constitution. Here's Elon talking with Rogan.
There's so many whistles being blown. It's hard to keep track.
A lot of whistles. This one lady...
It was only in one state. It was very specific instance,
right,
I believe.
But it was using Social Security money, correct? That was her.
I don't know.
That was her allegation. So what she was alleging was that she was in charge of turning illegal immigrants into clients. That's what they would call them, and that she would go to them and try to ask them, "Do you have a headache? Do you have back problems? If you do, now you can be permanently disabled. You get permanent disability, so you get Social Security for life."
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just Social Security, but disability, which is even more.
Right, and you get them on the taxpayer dole right away the moment, and they're illegal aliens.
Yes. Oh, so if I were to say, like, what's at the heart of the sort of, like, why is the Democrat propaganda machine so fired up to destroy me? That's the main reason. The main reason is that entitlements fraud, that includes like Social Security, disability, Medicaid, entitlements fraud for illegal aliens is what is serving as a gigantic magnetic force to pull people in from all around the world and keep them here.
It's the magnet.
Like basically, if you pay people at a standard of living that is above 90% of Earth, then you have a very powerful incentive for 90% of Earth to come here and to stay here. But if you end the illegal alien fraud, then you turn off that magnet, and they leave, and they stop coming, and the ones that are here, many of them will simply leave. And if that happens, they will lose a massive number of Democratic voters.
Yep, and 20 to 30 million people on Social Security. Let's see how those people are all connected. Let's see. Anyway, here's just a reminder that Roseanne Boyland was killed on January 6th after being crushed and beaten by police. The media said she died of an overdose, which was not true, and everyone should know her name. How is the connection to... Oh, I call for the impeachment of Boseberg for participating in the cover-up of Roseanne Boyland's murder. I testified in his courtroom about it, and he called me a liar as part of his conspiracy to hide the truth to the American people. Why does Roseanne's life not matter? Yeah, you got to get rid of these terrible judges. Cernovich says, here are the cold hard facts for Chief Justice John Roberts and his toady Amy Coney Barrett. And by the way, go to YouTube and you can see my interview with Mike Cernovich. Judicial legitimacy was on the ballot. Those media outlets, JR and ACB Watch, all promoted the view that J6 was an insurrection. Trump was guilty of every crime, from keeping classified documents to exaggerating the value of real estate. I can't even keep track of all the cases against Trump. 7 of 7 swing states. Popular vote win. Voters no longer trust the judiciary on matters involving Trump and his supporters. For good reason. Against longstanding constitutional law doctrine on the speedy trial clause, D.C. trial court judges denied change of venue motions for January 6 defendants. That was a guarantee. That was obvious that needed to happen, in my words. There was no legitimate reason to delay trials due to a backlog where there were multiple nearby venues to hear their case. Everyone knows why D.C. judges kept those cases in D.C. Juries voted to convict in 100% of cases. This is impossible in any other context. John Roberts worked for years in private practice, and every lawyer knows this to be true. Juries do crazy things. There will always be a runaway jury that convicts an innocent man and frees a guilty one. This is human nature. Yet this well-worn rule of human nature and litigation experience found one exception: our nation's capital. Had J6 cases been tried in other venues, there would have been some acquittals. Alexander Hamilton wrote in the Federalist Paper number 78 that the judiciary, unlike the executive and legislative branches, has no influence over either the sword or the purse. Hence, judges must not exceed their appointed role, nor legislative from the branch. Americans are watching D.C. judges appoint themselves as head of HR by demanding fired employees be reinstated. Now a judge who cooperated with FISA court fraud and himself should have been impeached and removed from office has proclaimed that he has the power to determine how Trump may use his power in matters of removing illegal immigrants who belong to terrorist gangs. Trump can say no. Courts can issue contempt findings. Who is going to serve the arrest warrants? U.S. Marshals? The Marshals fall under executive authority. Congress, of course, has the power to impeach and remove Trump from office. Judges lack any such authority, and it would be unfathomable to our founders to see this vulgar power grab and use of show trials in D.C. Because Trump's actions are popular at the 80-20 or even 90-10 level, there is no appetite for the domestic remedy of impeachment. In this conflict between activist judges, some of whom sleep in the same beds, literally, of people who will represent the opposing side and work for Trump hater groups, Trump will win. This is not my opinion. This was proven last November. Judges must conduct themselves appropriately, which is to say, they must admit that Trump has the power to deport illegal criminals, fire employees, and interpret the full use of his Article 2 powers independently. Hyperpartisan judges drunk on stolen power haven't thought this through. They will lose this standoff. For the sake of the country, Roberts must bring these lower courts to heel. Otherwise, judges will be in the position of issuing orders Trump is not obliged to follow, and as is his prerogative, he will not obey them. Sean Davis says, Roberts does not appreciate how close to the ledge he is dancing right now. Once a president is forced by judicial insurrectionists to instaur their dictates and finally realizes the only power they ever had was a common belief that they were legitimate, it's over. And let me tell you, the final gauge needle on that legitimacy tank is starting to point at E due to the ongoing insanity of unelected tyrants in robes. Once that tank is dry, it's over, because no president or Congress would ever again have any reason to defer to the whims of a cabal viewed as lawless and illegitimate by the people of this country. John Roberts can do the right thing and end this nonsense forthwith, or he can continue to indulge in this inner cowardice and go down in history as the man who killed off the American experiment in democratic rule of law on the eve of its 250th birthday. Here's another important reminder. There was a man in possession of a gun that got into the Capitol and was in the same room as President Trump on the night of his State of the Union address. This forced the chief of the Capitol Hill Police to resign in disgrace. Plus, on Inauguration Day, an armed man was just outside the rotunda while Trump was being sworn in. Alex says we need to pray for the Trump's safety and God's protection. And I hope we will all continue to pray for the health and safety and well-being of President Trump, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, the entire MAGA team to watch over and put a repel spell. If there's anyone who wishes to cause damage, may it be 10 times more vicious as it bounces back on the person who's attempting to make that decision. Amen. So there you go. Those are the things I wanted to share with you on today's broadcast of the Agree to Disagree show. Well, it's actually the TNAM AM show, but you can find it at the bottom there. There it says sub to our podcast, the Agree to Disagree show on Spotify and Apple. We're on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. And you can search the New American Media on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, and YouTube to link up with us there. Yes, please do. Also, get our documentary, Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way, on Rumble and YouTube. Please like it, share it. And if anybody would like to contribute to the New American Media, we appreciate each and every one of you. We're on Patreon at the New American Media, Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, $ Brian Engelman, and PayPal at Fuzz Installment. Those are the ways you can contribute to our program. That is what I had for you today. We're going to sign out. Go out there, enjoy your day. Do some stuff that you want to do. Make sure you're living the life that you want to live. And I will talk to you again tomorrow. On behalf of everybody in the chat room, everyone commenting, as always, I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace.